And we're diving into one specific group today, Group 165, which the author called Trimming the Fat.
That's the one. And it's interesting because the albums were really different genres, but the source says the rankings were surprisingly close. Made for some tough calls.
It seems the main point here isn't just who won, but more about how that forced, repetitive listening kind of changed initial opinions.
Exactly. It challenges your assumptions, which leads us perfectly to the winner of this group.
Which was The Fat of the Land by the Prodigy. Now, the author admits they initially thought it was just a noisy mess.
Right. But years later, doing this quest, it completely clicked. That pulsating electro dance, the drum and bass underneath, it apparently really gets under your skin.
And what's interesting is the note about sampling. About 60% sampled.
Yeah, which you might think is a weakness. But in this context, listening closely, it actually highlighted the skill, how they wove all those bits together into something that just works.
Okay, so Prodigy took the top spot. But the fight for second place sounded intense, especially between Wheatus and Alexandra Burke.
Yeah, two artists you probably wouldn't expect to be battling it out in this kind of analysis. The conventional wisdom, or at least the author's initial bias, was they'd be out quickly.
Let's talk Alexandra Burke then. Overcome. The author was basically dreading listening to it, right? Expected low-quality pop from an X Factor winner.
Pretty much. The notes mention expecting nausea and drivel, which is quite harsh, but it shows the bias he was trying to overcome.
So what happened?
Well, the listening process forced objectivity. Instead of dribble, the notes say solid, funky, soulful pop music. Highlighted her fantastic voice in specific tracks like Broken Heels, Dumb, Bury Me. They just held up under scrutiny.
So a real surprise there.
Yeah.
But she didn't quite make the top two.
No, she ended up third. Very close. But the runner-up spot went to Wheatus and their debut album.
Another surprise. The expectation there was bland stoner rock.
That's what the author thought going in, but found it was actually fairly refined melodic rock with a country-esque twang.
More than just Teenage Dirtbag then.
Oh, yeah. Apparently, the songwriting and musicianship across the whole album were just really consistent. Tracks like Leroy, their cover of A Little Respect, it all added up. That consistency seems to be what edged out Alexandra Burke.
Okay, so if Prodigy won, Wheatus second, Alexandra Burke third, that means the big shock was Kings of Leon finishing last, with Only by the Night.
Exactly. An absolutely massive album, commercially speaking. The author notes it has obvious class, especially a track like Sex on Fire. But overall, found it strangely drab. The main criticism seems to be that it drags too much, it's front-loaded, the hits are great, but the rest of the album just didn't maintain that quality throughout the repeated listens needed for this format.
So consistency really was king here. Let's recap Group 165. Number 1, The Prodigy. 2, Wheatus. 3, Alexandra Burke. And 4, Kings of Leon.
And the big takeaway from this whole album quest idea, or at least this group, is how that critical repeated listening can just shatter your preconceived notions about an artist like Alexandra Burke, or even a whole genre, like maybe the author's view of the Prodigy.
Yeah, it values how an album works as a whole piece, track after track, maybe more than just having massive hit singles.
Right. Structural quality and consistency really shone through here over, say, peak moments or just sheer popularity.